Hey everybody, David here, and welcome to the ASOG podcast. This is one of many episodes we recorded at the Tools Conference put on by the AASP-PA in Pocono Manor, Pennsylvania. We sit down with Adam Rath and Bret and discuss a whole host of different topics. Before we get started, make sure you head on over to youtube.com, type in ASOG. Once you see our channel, take a look at our content. If you like it, a sub would be fantastic. Make sure that you have this podcast set to automatically download whenever we drop a new episode. And now, here we go. Do your kids watch your live streams? Of course. You're lying. I can tell from your face.
Nobody watches.
I can tell.
Okay. I guarantee you they're watching. If they're not watching now, they'll watch later.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're not going to watch right now. But
anyway, Bret, tell us who you are.
I need a video of them watching, and then I'll believe you. From your wife, too.
Okay.
I can't
send it to you.
Bet.
Tell us who you are.
All right,
I've known you. Nobody else knows you.
I'm Bret Fadley. I'm with Fadley's Automasters out of York, PA. I am also here representing the Alliance of Automotive Service Providers of Pennsylvania and sitting at the Tools Conference.
Very cool. Very cool. So we've been friends for a while. We were in a coaching group together, and I always appreciated how you were a straight shooter. Like, right, you would come to the meetings with beer in hand, and if somebody said something that just did not work, Bret was going to say, no, I'm going to call bullshit.
Yeah, I've been told a lot of people say I think it, but Bret will say it.
That's exactly right. And obviously, everybody knows Adam Rath. Adam's back.
Howdy.
How you doing, Adam? Good. Listen, bro, I know you're short. You're going to have to get closer to that microphone.
I'm just doubting that everyone knows me, but
we turned this mic up or something like that last time.
Well,
because he was like,
I don't know if you noticed that
projecting.
His feet won't reach the floor, so he has to rock the seat back and forth to get closer.
I don't know how the seat adjusts. I don't think it does adjust.
It does.
It's very exciting.
You just dropped it all the way down here.
So, Bret, you've had some really exciting things. I think many of us have experienced this before, and we were talking yesterday, but many of us have experienced that transition from where you're doing everything in the shop. Yep. And you're just clicking along and waiting for something different. And then all of a sudden things start to come together and they start to fall in place. And you were sharing yesterday that that's kind of what started happening for you. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my mother died in 2016 and the business was kind of thrown in my lap.
Right.
And when I looked at all the books and saw where the business was at, it was failing.
Right.
Fast forward a couple of years, I got involved with Rick from 180 Biz. I got into that coaching call in that group, and the business took off.
Clicking along.
Yep.
Sorry.
And then all of a sudden things start to come together.
Oh
no. He's watching his own.
I'm trying to get it put out there. But you want lots of eyeballs on you. Sorry.
The business started to take off because I started to implement. Got knowledge from you and several others in the group and Rick, and realized after a while things just happened.
Yeah.
And it happened for the good. Right. And now I can see the positive stuff to the eclipse of where I want to be.
Right.
And it's a good feeling.
It really is. And so I kind of was that way, right? I remember there was like a spot in my life where And I've said this before where my wife basically came to me and said, shit or get off the pot. Right. Now, this was after I'd already, everybody knows my story, how I got involved with ASTE, the whole 9 yards. But there became a time when I'm hesitant to the coaching I'm receiving. I'm hesitant to do the things that everybody says need to be done. Man, I don't know if I can raise my prices that much. And I don't know if I can, and my wife basically said, shit or get off the pot. It's time to do something. You're paying for coaching. You're doing all these things. Time to make a decision. Time to do it, right?
Yep.
And for me, that's when that catalyst began to happen. The right people started to come into my life. The right things started to happen in the shop. And we started to see that growth. And it really took me taking that jump and making that decision. I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? That was really where it happened for me.
And it's the same. I think in this industry, the old school mentality is from those owners that were techs. I can do this on my own. Well, I can't charge that. I can't charge that.
Right.
And they get a customer comes in and will say, well, I think that's a little high. Well, let me give you.
Yep.
It took the mentality of that old school from being around 35 years with my dad.
Right.
And my dad was not always that way. It was a matter of taking that to the next level.
Yeah.
And understanding getting paid what we're supposed to be worth.
Absolutely.
Not getting underpaid.
Absolutely. Well, it's so easy to overlook that. You know what I'm saying? It's so easy to overlook our worth because we know what we paid for the parts. We know we don't value that knowledge we have. We don't value our tech's knowledge. So we just jump in and say, well, here, let me knock it down a little bit because it's more comfortable. We feel better about it. It makes us feel better. But in turn, what we're doing is subsidizing the repairs for our clients, right?
Yep.
We're subsidizing those repairs with the money that's supposed to feed our family.
Yep.
Right. And I mean, that to me, like that's the real shame because I mean, as parents, as husbands, that's our responsibility is for our family.
And
right?
your employees' families.
Exactly. And I know this sounds horrible. We talked about this yesterday. I heard this in a coaching class, but somebody said, a lot of your clients aren't going to remember you. Your family is, right? That's something to think about. And I'm not saying take advantage of people, but you gotta make sure you're charging appropriately for sure.
Yeah.
David's got a look on his face that's making me nervous. He's looking at the switcher and it's like
so many buttons.
Buttons. Okay. I know you've never met David before. David doesn't do well with buttons. He doesn't do well with things that might pull his attention because here in a few minutes, you're going to see the bouncy ball running through David's head.
I fall asleep. That's what I do. It's
Well, so you sound like my wife. Her license plate is actually keep swimming. Dory.
Does she forget things?
No, she just gets distracted.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
This cat had COVID. And when he got over COVID, his ADD was like hypercharged.
That was I had a lot going on at the last event. I just had to show up for this one. Show up and look pretty. That's all I had to do.
Adam, what do you think?
Show up, look pretty, get a car with square cup holders,
Yeah. Complain about the tire pressure.
Let's talk about these cars nowadays. So I'm about to get out of this Kia rental I'm in. And the thing starts beeping at me. And I'm like, it's got an actual key, which I appreciate. It's got an actual key. I'm like, I got the key on me. Why is it beeping? I look down at the instrument cluster. It says, check the rear seats. Somebody was in my rear seat, just assumes, hey, you're about to leave your 2-year-old in the back and forget that you have a 2-year-old. The car's telling me to check the rear seats. Yeah. The car.
I hate it. When they started putting that in with these messages, how idiotic is that? Right here is the problem to everybody's issue.
No, don't blame the cell phones. I'm insulted. The problem is not the cell phones. The problem, I don't want to go down that road, but it is a problem. Not necessarily the cell phones.
They're just too distracted.
What's that? Have you ever seen the picture where they have in one box of the picture, everybody's staring down at their phones at a restaurant. Everybody's just that's the interaction that you're hanging out. Everybody's staring at their phone. But then they have a picture of the 1920s in a train where everybody's standing right next to each other and everybody's got the newspaper up.
Same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah. And you just find something else to distract yourself with. And before I had my cell phone to scroll through, I was obsessed with magazines. I had dozens of different subscriptions to car magazines and whatever else. And they would come in and, so excited every single month. I started getting my magazines, you rip them open, start reading all the articles and learning new stuff. And I've always been this way.
The magazines I had didn't have articles.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can promise you he's never been interested in that.
This is a family show. No. And so, I'm getting out of this car. This thing is like driving to the wing place. The car was steering me. You didn't notice, but if you cross over the line, the thing buzzes at you and it pulls you back into the thing. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of a cool feature or whatever, because I drive half distracted anyway. But and I hate the cup holders are square. I don't know if anybody listening knows a Kia engineer. I need you to send this for the love of all things holy. Why? Why would you make the stupid cup holders square? It is idiotic. It is so absurdly stupid. And then like on the door, because this is like a lower trim. Oh, this is something else. So this car will steer me on the interstate. I don't have to put my hand, like I have to kind of rest it, but the car will take off, stop, and steer for me. But it doesn't have automatic climate control. Now, why put one feature and not the other? That's the stupidest thing in the world. I'm too hot, I'm too cold, I'm fidgeting with the flipping buttons. It's like, ugh. But it'll steer for me. It'll remind me that I'm about to leave my 2-year-old in the back seat.
Hey, by the way.
But I can't set it on 72. That's too complicated.
By the way, we had training for ADAS here.
Yeah. Well, and see, he gets really nervous. He rides with me, right?
I thought I was going to die.
Have
you ridden with this one? He's psychotic.
I don't believe I have.
You listen, if you put the yellow line in the middle of the car, it keeps you between the two white lines. That's how it works, right? And if you're over 85 and you're not touching the ground, then it doesn't really matter if it tries to steer you or not. It's fine. Listen, I drive on roads like these at home.
I wonder how many 2-year-olds got left in the back seat back in the day.
You know, I saw this. There was one that was left in the back seat a while back, and I read the whole news article about it. It doesn't seem like an alarm in a car is going to fix those problems. When that's happening, it's because there's underlying parental issues, right? I've got a 3-year-old. I can promise you he's not getting left in a car. I mean, he will destroy the car.
Well, yeah. But the kid's sleeping or whatever, and he's locked in his car seat, and then you go to the mall and just forget I have a 2-year-old.
That boggles my mind.
Yeah,
I don't get that,
man. I like.
Have you ever left your kid in your seat and just forgot?
That's what I was just trying to think that through, but I
before you say something, it's like, well, I was on the news that one time.
I believe it's occurred.
Well, I think you have a parental thing. Right? Like my son comes and sleeps in the bed with us at night, right? He did not get sleep training like my daughter. It wasn't a thing. He comes and sleeps in our bed. I'm to the point that if he's not in there by 1 o'clock, I'm waking up in the middle of the night like,
there's something wrong. Yeah.
Right. And so like, I'm not leaving my kid in the car. I'm sure I could make a mistake. I'm sure I can't say.
I think everybody's made mistakes as a parent, but I'm not saying that. But that's 100-degree weather, kids sleeping in the back seat, and you just and these people go into like Walmart or the grocery store, and they're just like, just be in there for I don't know how long, and it's a bajillion degrees outside. How do you forget? I don't get it. But the solution is, by the way, folks, put a beep and a message on the Kia, and it'll fix it.
Without automatic climate control.
Without automatic. We're not going to put automatic climate control in the car, but we're going to make sure. Nobody thought this through.
What, having a podcast with you?
Obviously not. Because here we are.
So
it's virtue signaling. Look what we did. We're helping society. You're not really affecting any change. This isn't going to help anybody ever. Like, it's absurd. The person who's going to forget their child is going to forget their child.
Now, my question would be,
of your beeping.
So if you go up to the next trim level where you can get the automatic climate control.
I still have the square cup holder.
Well, do you? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Do you still get the square
and
cup
I don't
holders?
know what this fad is.
At what point do they go to round?
I don't know.
What trim level do you have to buy?
Is
there a special package for that?
I think you have to not buy a Kia. Look, his Toyota had round cup holders, like God intended. This thing is an abomination, is what I'm telling you. It's an abomination. And then for some reason, they decided, we used to have key fobs that had the buttons on the front. Big, fat buttons for big, fat American hands, right? Look at those meat paws right over there. Look at that. Look at that thing. That is insane. Now, at some point, these manufacturers said, we're not going to have big, fat buttons on the front of the key fob. We're going to have a giant key fob regardless, but we're going to put the logo on the front, and then we're going to put these teeny tiny little buttons on the side of the key fob.
So you're the one setting off the alarm every time you go to the car.
Is that what it was? It's like, people put their key fobs in the button.
No,
in the
I'm saying
pocket,
when you go to the car, your big old fat fingers,
Listen, I don't want to make a big issue out of this. Do you understand how a proximity key works?
No.
This thing doesn't have proximity key. It doesn't have climate control.
How does
Why would it have proximity anything?
Oh, come on.
What? Are you serious?
I'm
this
sure
thing
that's
does not
why they've
open
moved
on
the
its
buttons
own.
to the side, because it's a proximity key.
No. They just slap buttons on the side. I don't know why. At least the Kia, I will give Kia credit. They did make the lock portion of the button like a raised button, so it almost feels like a trigger when you're like, right? I drove a Mazda, and it was just square, and then all of the buttons were down the side, and so every time you had to look down and go, am I locking? Am I not locking? Or whatever. I guess there's a setting as you walk away, the car will lock for you. Is that what your Golf does?
Yeah.
So you walk away to lock on its own?
If you have it set to do that, you just go into the thing and you can change the settings. You walk up to it, pull the handle.
This Kia doesn't have.
You can do it whatever you want. If you want,
your Golf does, I'm sure.
Hey,
have automatic climate
If
control.
it makes you feel any better, my '99 Suburban don't have any of that.
See, that's how vehicles should be made as a '99 Suburban. So I drive a 17 Dodge Grand Caravan. But, I bought it for that. Like, it still has 134A. And aside from the throttle by wire, which is a little loopy, but other than that, it's just like it's a regular, it barely has ABS. It's got traction control, but, it's got old school traction control.
You think that emergency braking would have worked out well for you right before you plowed into that lady because she wasn't a Patriots fan?
Front bumper and stuff for it. It's fine. It's whatever. I'm just saying that they have made these vehicles stupid. Like they're going in the wrong direction. Like ADAS is cool. I'm okay with ADAS. It's fine.
We've been like that for years. I mean, how many times under the hood it's like, what's the engineer thinking about this design? They don't think about us that have to work at it out in the field.
Yeah, but they've always been like that. I mean, like you remember the starter in the Cadillacs, like under the intake manifold, or starter on a Lexus, like an old LS. Idea. Like that's a 4-hour job, right? To replace the starter. But the starters lasted. Like you didn't replace that many starters, at least not on the Lexus. They've always been stupid like that. It's just the way they're designing these vehicles. They want to make these engines teeny tiny, which I get. That's fine. But then like, well, people still need to, drive like idiots. So we're going to put turbos on them. Like, okay, well, that's fine. And also, we're not going to tell anybody that they need to change the oil. Screw that. They'll just blow them up at 80,000 miles. They'll be out of warranty. They'll have to buy new ones.
I think Adam is the one here with the true advantage. I've been thinking about this the whole time you've been rattling on. Adam, like, his knowledge of cars is basically, does it run? Does it drive? Okay, good. Right? I mean, like, no offense. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying, like,
I'm not a mechanic.
Right. And so you've got this, like, innate advantage.
I sold freaking Total Hips before I did this. Come on.
But, I mean, you know what I'm saying, though? Like, you have an advantage. Like, the rest of us are over here. We know how to work on cars. Right? And we know what that knowledge is, and maybe it shouldn't have taken that tech so long. Maybe this, maybe that. Where you're just like, okay. Right? Cool. Great. It's broken. Did you fix it? Good. Uh-huh. And we're going to charge for that, right? Good. Okay. Right? That's the extent of, I mean, you've been stupid successful.
Occasionally.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, some things have worked out very well for me.
Some things.
He drives a Golf GTI.
It's a Golf R.
I'm sorry.
Stop
You're
now.
right.
Just stop.
But it has
It's a
round
golf
cup
ball.
holders.
It has
It's got round cup holders.
and climate control.
But I mean, like, seriously though, I think there's an advantage for somebody coming into this that doesn't know how to fix cars, right? He doesn't think about those things. It doesn't frustrate him what
Well,
the engineers do.
At the same time, though, like you can get investors. You know, the investor mindset. They just come in to buy a business to get a return, and those people like are the hacky shops. They may be beautiful facilities, have lots of employees, but they're also the ones that are installing garbage parts and get it as cheap as possible and just get it out the door. And
Well,
that's all we care about. And warranty is just a percentage on the P&L, and that's it.
Right. It all depends on what the whole purpose of the shop. So I opened my shop because when I did medical device sales, I drove the crap out of my car. And when I took it into the shop and I'd say, just fix whatever's wrong with it and call me when it's done, whatever it needs. I just want it fixed. Please make it happen. I would have thought that I'm the ultimate customer. I come in, I trust you. Just call me when it's done, please.
Yeah.
And it was a miserable freaking experience every single time. And I said, there has to be more people like me that just walk in and say, just please fix it. I trust you. Call me when it's done.
Yeah.
And are just expecting like just bare minimum the car's fixed correctly.
Yeah.
Or hey,
Bare minimum competence.
right. Maybe just something slightly. There was good customer service also. Like, oh, I'll take that. That might just sell me on the whole thing. So that was the whole point of, well, I can open a shop because these people can't even fix the car correctly, let alone have
Provide
a
that.
little bit of customer service or not take a month to return the car to me.
Yeah, I got customers like that too, long-term customers. Just fix it as I trust you. But no, they are getting called. They're getting reports.
Yep.
They're constant contact. There's no surprises. I go above and beyond, make sure the contact's there, review everything, explain the benefit of being here. Nothing leaves my shop without conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. We talked about that yesterday. That I'm always updating clients,
Yep.
right? That's what I do, and so that's part of our culture. That's part of who we are. That's just how we serve clients. So
But I think when you bring in somebody that isn't a mechanic or at least in the automotive industry, and I remember very distinctly there was a Midas that was in Glen Carbon, Illinois. It was a good customer for us. The business got bought by a non-automotive type. He was just buying a business that had a good return, and he's just trying to make money. And it turned into, I don't care about the customer. I need the money in the door. Like, I need a certain percentage. These are the prices. You need to hit these metrics. And that's how the guy ran the shop. And the attitude of the employees kind of went along with it. They fought it for a while because they were very much invested in the customer experience. They were buddies and friends with their customers. That's how they ran it. They weren't the clean cut. They were like grizzled mechanics. But the way they treated their customers were, like, we're all friends here, and I'm going to help you out by fixing your car. But that meant lower margins, and that's not how this guy wanted to run. And they ran a lot of customers off and stuff like that. Not a bad thing necessarily, but he didn't care. It was an investment. So I need to see 15% of my money. That's it. That's all he cared about.
well, and
That's the detriment in having.
right. Well, and I mean, so what do you say to that? I mean, like you're kind of making it towards absentee owner right now. Right. You're working on building another shop or refitting another shop. What do you say? I mean, I know you're not out taking advantage of people like that. We've talked about the whole leadership thing.
Right. Well, my hope is that I have gotten my employees to the point that they understand what my vision is, how we're going to take care of people, how we're going to treat people, and that when I'm not there, we can just we don't know what to do. Okay, let's circle back around to, how are we going to take care of people? If this is the way that we're going to take care of them, then what do I need to do to get to that end goal?
Well, you heard me earlier say when I was talking about an issue we had. So I was at an event and they were trying to really drive numbers through the shop. And it wasn't so much that we were worried about the money. It was more so that I needed them to recognize they could do it, right? They had fallen into a slump. It was a little bit of a mental slump, and a couple of things went wrong, right? And what I recognized through that, there were a lot of different pieces of that puzzle, but what I recognized through that is that we lost sight of the desired outcome, which is a properly and safely repaired automobile. And they got focused on, I got to get all these cars done today. And they lost sight of the properly repaired automobile, right? And nobody got hurt. And it wasn't like some huge end of the world deal. But I think focusing on the desired outcome is really important. I mean, that's part of what our cultures are in our businesses, you know?
That's where I learned with being with Rick and you guys is you got to get your whole team to see the vision. And you better have a vision and mission statement written down for what you want to do as a business owner.
Yeah.
No matter what business it is, whether it's a restaurant or a beer distributor or auto repair, it's got to have a target point, and everybody's got to be pointing in that same direction. It takes an effort and training to get everybody on board,
right? And
get everybody behind you, because as a military person, you have to work with all different aspects of people.
Yeah.
And the military's big on unity.
Right.
You use everything as a unit. It's not an individual.
Right.
The whole unit goes.
Yeah.
And if one person messes up, the unit is responsible.
Right. Ownership.
Yep.
And you know, so I remember Rick saying this to me at one point, and I think we talked about this maybe last night. But I remember Rick saying to me, like, you better have a vision, you better have a destination, because if you don't, somebody there does, I promise you. Right? So, like, if you're not the one setting the destination, somebody's setting it. What's the destination in the business? And if as an owner, you're not setting that destination, you're not setting that expectation, you're not setting the desired outcome, somebody's setting it. Right? Whether it's because they interpret what you think or what they think.
It's an interpretation. Yeah.
Right. So you're a whole lot better putting it down on paper and saying, here it is. Right? I think
the problem is writing it down is fine. But I mean, I know of franchises that have a name with religious connotation in the name that are all individually owned.
I thought that was their last name.
It's not what people think. So, however the name came about, I'm just saying, in our area, they're all over the place in our area, and they're always massive facilities. 4, 5, 6, 7 technicians in there, and they all do like very well. And we're in an area that's heavily religious, and a lot of these people show up thinking that they're going to get a certain treatment, that I'm not going to get taken advantage. They have this religious affiliation to them. Like, that's not going to happen. And depending on who the owner is, the name even implies the golden rule. The name implies, like, we're going to treat you fairly. The name, and they have a mission statement, and it's part of the package when you buy the franchise. But that's not how they do it. They don't act that way. And I'm not saying about all of them, and I'm sure they're all very nice people. Everybody's super nice. I'm just talking about very specific individuals that have treated it like, yeah, I need my 20%. I need my salary. I need my 20%. You're expendable. The employee is, the customer, there's another one lined up. We're just going to flood the market with mailers. Doesn't matter. Get them in, get them out. And that mindset, their action, their attitude towards it, they can say it all they want. But when they treat it like an investment, and it's just like owning stock, and you can just as easily sell it because it's not performing to what you need it to, just hit a button and it's gone. That ends up permeating through the entire organization, really, despite the fact that all over the walls there's a certain implication.
Yep, it's a shame, and that's no matter where you go, and that's one thing that I saw with this industry. And you could go back 50 years. This industry has an image that has had to change. Yep. It has started to change, but it's still misconceived in the back of people's brains of what a mechanic walking into a garage is about.
I mean, we talk about that from the education standpoint, right? Because the guidance counselors aren't willing to send kids to the tech classes because I don't want to make them grease monkeys is what they would say.
Yeah.
Right.
They parents would not say, hey, I would recommend that. If they say, hey, I want to be an automotive technician, mom and dad are like, what was it? Mike Rowe said, a 4-year degree was always, trade schools were a consolation prize to a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the way we've always treated it. Right. And so we had a reputation. And so I was doing an interview just the other day and somebody said, what do you think, of this tech shortage? And I said, well, I don't really know that we have a tech shortage. I think we have an industry image problem as a whole. I think that we're in a situation where we've not treated people properly. We've not paid them properly. Right. So we've got that going for us. We don't have a good image for how we treat the people that come in.
Correct.
Right. And so there's, and here's what gets me. And I talk about this a lot. It pisses me off that we look at how much we charge as a differentiator, whether we're treating someone right or wrong. Right. Now, I have learned the hard way. If I don't charge appropriately, if I don't have enough profit, I can't afford to take care of my freaking client. Right?
You're right.
But instead, we look at it like if I'm charging them more than the guy down the street, I'm ripping them off. No, you're ripping them off if you're not charging them more because now you can't afford to fix the problem if it comes up.
Because technically, the guy down the street's ripping them off.
Yeah, absolutely. You're shortchanging the repair, you're using lower quality parts. Yeah. You're shortchanging the warranty.
It comes back. It needs to be towed. You can't pay for the tow. You can't fix the car because you don't have enough money. And
all you do is look to absolve responsibility, saying, no, that wasn't my fault.
You wanted this cheap repair. I've told you the story about the people with the brakes.
Yeah.
And I had a car that came in and they were like, dude, we just had these brakes repaired. It was like $500. And I'm really worried that it's not safe. It's making a noise now. Well, they had put pads on tore up rotors. And I'm like, why in the world would they do that? I actually called and asked and he said, well, I was worried they would be upset if I charged them for rotors too.
Did you post that the other day? I think you had pictures of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, why in the world? Right? Your first job is to be a professional, right? And like what I'm going through with the bank. I'm going through this whole, I'm not even going to go into the story with the bank. I'm going through this whole mess with the bank right now. And I'm expecting the guy at the bank to be a professional and guide me through the process. That's his job. That's what he's paid to do, if nothing else. Right? Otherwise, I could just go to the head banker and say, hey, give me the paperwork I need to fill out. Scott Palava. David is going to kill you. Yep. You know that, right? Yeah. He's probably going to murder you in your sleep.
We can hear the buzzing,
yeah,
right?
I know. That's why I grabbed this. Sorry, I thought I had the vibrator turned off.
Really?
Scott Palava, everybody. Scott Palava.
Hey, can you believe they gave him complimentary cockroaches? I had to ask for mine. I even had to ask for a lighter to heat mine up.
So I put my techs up at AST at an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And a very nice, Cary's a nice neighborhood. Like it's hoity-toity, it's a nice area. And I find this house and it's beautiful and it was expensive, whatever. It's cheaper than the hotel, but both techs could stay at this house, right? It's kitchen, the whole nine. Put them in Airbnb. They get there and like, as soon as they walk in the door, they're settling in and I get this text message with the biggest, fattest cockroach you can imagine, just hanging out in the corner of the room. It was a wood roach. You familiar with wood roach? Okay, so it was a wood roach. And I'm like, he's like, it scared me.
Listen,
this big fat black thing that's sitting in the corner, just scurrying off when I turn the lights on.
Hey, listen, in some countries they're delicacies. Scott
There's
thought
no country that eats cockroach. What country?
Scott thought they were delicious. And I think it's
Minnesota in general.
I think it's pretty impressive. Now, if y'all haven't thought about this, the fact that a nuclear weapon will not kill a cockroach, but Raid will. What do you think's in Raid? Do you think you ought to be spraying it? I mean,
palmetto bugs. What's a palmetto bug? What is that?
I have no idea.
That's a. He's like a garden person. So Jim Kokonis.
Oh, I should have known.
Oh yeah, there you go. He calls them palmetto bugs. Yeah. It's not a palmetto. It's a flipping cockroach. It was nasty, disgusting. We call them poppers at the shop because they'll come crawling across the shop just hanging out. They're not like an actual cockroach, like what you would get in a house, because they're not evil. Like they'll walk. They're regular cockroaches are evil. Like they're vindictive. They're evil things. These things will just walk across the room, just hanging out. Like you're not going to kill it. What you do when you step on them, they pop. Just, we call them poppers.
Scott's a little offended you wouldn't just chew it up. He said it was crunchy.
Why would you say he eats bugs? That's weird.
No, I had one in my room last night. So
did you really?
Yeah.
Like a palmetto bug,
a German cockroach.
For a legit that thing.
Yeah, he's
Did it have a Volkswagen logo on it?
Now stop.
Now here's the problem with if it's a legit bug.
Yeah.
Like the hotel's infested.
Well, they know they do because I pulled the refrigerator out because it went back behind there, and they have a cockroach trap stuck to the back of the refrigerator.
They probably do in every single room.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people coming through here. You don't think that?
Yeah,
dude, they live everywhere.
Yeah. It's just
okay, here we go. No. You got me off on it. So I'm going to tell you some roach stories. Hold on. So I used to work for a rent-to-own company. Like this is back in the day. We used to have to go repo like computers. Mm-hmm. Gateway. Everybody familiar with Gateway computers from back in the day? Okay.
Man, that was back in the day.
Back in the day, dude. So we would rent out Gateway computers, and the first thing you had to do was to leave it in the vehicle or whatever. You had to like bomb it because you wanted to at least get some of the roaches out. And then the rest of the time you had, because you refurbished it to essentially get it back on rental, right? Because they would buy these units and they're like, we need to get $3,000 of rent fees from each unit, whatever the dollar amount is. And unless it had hit that $3,000, you had to keep renting it until it hit that $3,000. Once it had $100, you could buy the thing for $100. Anyway, so the roaches leave poop. Everybody familiar with that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you would have to take apart this thing and scrub which is sticky. It's disgusting. You would just scrub the crap out of this thing. You wouldn't think that thousands of roaches would live inside of a computer, but you'd be wrong. They infest the computer, anything warm. We went to this lady's house. This is the most horrific story ever. We went to this lady's house. We knew she had a roach problem. Like she smelled a certain way. Her husband smelled a certain way. You knew these weren't clean people. Like they lived in filth and they were cool with it. It's whatever. But she hadn't made payments on her big screen TV. And these were like rear projection, like old school, like 4x3 big screen TVs.
You weren't moving that by yourself.
Me and the other guy show up to the house and we're like, her name was Sharon. Sharon, you have a major payment. We're going to have to come repo you. And she's like, yeah. We showed up at her house. She's like, one day, because they normally duck you. And then one day you get the phone call, come get it. But really the reason why she wanted us to come get it is because it stopped working. So we go into the house and, you can see them crawling on the walls. And these people just sitting in the living room, hanging out in the middle of the day with roaches crawling around them. They don't care. They're cool with it. It's whatever, right? They're the pets. And so we picked this, we knew. We picked this TV up. And we load it into the box truck. It's a Ford E350 box truck. And we park it in front of the shop. We call the exterminator. And what do you want us to do with this thing? This thing is probably loaded with roaches. And he's like, get a roach bomb, throw it in there, a fogger, right? Throw it into the back of the truck and just let it sit overnight and see what happens. I said, okay. So we get a roach bomb, set it off, throw it in the back of the truck. The next morning, we come in. I'm walking into the building, it's a strip mall. I'm walking in, and I look down, and I see just like a dozen roaches, just all loopy, just kind of walking on the sidewalk. And I'm like, oh, that's gross. So I'm stepping on them as I'm walking. And by the way, you got to flush them down the toilet. You can't just step on them because they will hatch regardless. Regardless of you stepping on them, those suckers will still hatch. So if they've got an egg pouch, they'll still hatch. Dead mother, they'll hatch. Anyway. So, and I'm like, that's weird. At some point, somebody had to get into the truck. I went into the front, the cabin of the truck, and I opened the door, and I'm not kidding. 30, 40 dead roaches just gonna fall out of the door. Have I told you the story?
Mm-mm.
They're all over the steering column, all over the instrument cluster. They're on the seats. Hundreds of them. Half dead, half of them loopy, just kind of wandering around. And so we call the exterminator. We're like, what do we do? And they're like, well, you still want to catch the live ones, so throw some pucks in there. They're the little traps. So we chuck a bunch of pucks in there. I ended up quitting a few days later.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be back in that truck.
That truck, somebody had to clean out that truck eventually, but that truck was essentially ruined because it was never going to be right. Roaches, what had happened with the TV is one of the roaches had gotten into one of the projectors and had fried the projector, leaving this like rainbow splotch in one of the corners of the projector. And that's why it had popped. This television was housing tens of thousands of roaches. They were all, and we had left just the TV strapped to the side inside this box truck with nothing else in it because we knew. But when we roach bombed them, they scattered and they had completely filled. And what I was seeing were the roaches that had escaped the truck, gotten out of the truck, fell down on the ground, and were trying to make it out of the roach bomb. That's what I was seeing as I was walking in, stepping on these roaches all the way in. Oh, it was awful. It's the most roaches I've ever seen in my life. They were everywhere, dude.
That's pretty disgusting.
They were everywhere. So when you have one, and I'm sure they like every hotel has to bring in a sprayer, like and that was how we kept the infestation from getting into everything in the store. Was you had to have an exterminator come in and spray the entire store on a weekly basis. And even on top of that, you still threw pucks down to catch the ones that you couldn't kill. And as soon as they walked into the area of the spray, it would essentially kill the weak ones. The strong ones would keep going, but it would slow them down so you could at least step on them. Because if they're like full strength, you're not catching them. They're so fast. You'll chase them, but you're not catching them.
So if we've learned nothing else, Rent-A-Center is not somewhere that you want to get into.
It was Rentway. It was Rentway. Rentway was purchased by Rent-A-Center. Those were the two big ones. Now
so
it's
definitely
like Aaron's.
don't rent any of their furniture.
Yeah, no, God Almighty. Could you imagine?
So
that?
you can, if you have to. First off, it's insanely expensive to do that. Like, just go on Craigslist and buy a $50 couch. Like my first couch, we bought for $50.
Bro,
it had been sitting in a barn. It smelled. We just cleaned the crap out of it and cleaned it. And that was my first couch. Me and my wife.
Listen, I know what some people do on couches. I'm not going to go buy a $50 couch.
I'm buying a $50 couch. You just clean it and sanitize it.
I mean, that's like going and buying a mattress somebody else has slept on. You know,
a mattress is different. What are you doing on couches? Like constantly?
Not
like
really.
all day?
Are
you going to crust it up with stuff? Like, no.
You can put a cover on a mattress.
You can put a cover on a couch, too.
Exactly.
Well,
there you go. Why don't you just
he's
put a
cover
prude,
on
though.
it? He doesn't see the world for what it is.
I don't just assume it of everybody. Like, I'm glad to buy this $50 like bodily fluid depository here that you're calling a couch.
Dude, when I was 20, you didn't give a crap.
Well, I'm 20 years old buying a couch. Trust me, I didn't give a crap either. I needed a couch.
I got mine for free. I just saw it along the road.
Yeah, like absolutely. Like these people were like younger or they had bad credit and they were coming in and they were this $500 couch. They were spending $3,000 on it. And the ones that came in and just they're like, I don't care. I want that couch. They didn't care. They probably had roaches themselves. Not all of them. There was a good portion of them. But you could request, if you absolutely needed a rent-to-own one, you could request, can I get a brand new one? Still wrapped. And you could. You would order it in, it get shipped in, and you would send it straight to the house. And same thing with appliances and stuff like that. You could get brand new units. The problem is that $500 washing machine is going to end up costing you $3,000 because you're paying weekly. And the interest is so high.
That's crazy.
Palmetto bugs. That's a politically correct name for a big fat American wood roach. Popper. Palmetto bugs. That's for somebody that you don't want to insult them. This Airbnb and these people were very nice. They were very communicative. Oh, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you pronounce it that way, but that's what I'm trying to say. They were very, very nice hosts. And I'm like, hey, you might check the house for a palmetto bug or 2 or 10. Wouldn't you don't say you've got wood roaches or roaches, but palmetto bug. I'm going to use that from now on. It's a palmetto bug. It's not a wood roach. It's not a roach at all. It's a palmetto bug.
Palmetto bug.
Palmetto bug.
Listen, if you call it a roach, this guy over here is going to try and smoke it. So,
Adam,
right away. I drive a Volkswagen. Come on.
Communicative. Maybe communicative isn't a word.
Just make them up as you go, man. I'm telling you. This is awful. Look.
No, it is a word. Ready to talk or impart information. That's it. Communicative.
Oh, that is definitely him. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. I mean, that's just...
I tell everybody my roach story. It was traumatizing. I use it as, therapy for me. It's the way I process. It's the way I cope.
I've
never seen so many roaches in my life.
But now I know.
The roaches? Yeah. Dude, they can get in your ear. Happened to my cousin. I'm telling you, these things are horrible. Evil little things. And the babies are like, they're the size of like strawberry seeds. The babies. They're the size of strawberry seeds. You think you're going to see them? Like, no. You're not going to see them. They're crawling up into your orifices.
Scott's got a bag full of them. He's taking those boogers home.
My wife should be listening.
Well, somewhere along the line, that GPS signal got to the right.
I know, right?
Is that in the key of the GPS? The nav?
No. It's got Android Auto, though, which is clunky and awful.
Just yesterday, you sent a message to me that said it was pretty cool.
The Android Auto?
Yeah.
I guess the problem is like every time you get in the car. So let's say you're making 15 like quick trips. Every single time you get in the car, 15 to 30 seconds to get the thing like up and running. So 15 to 30 seconds. Meanwhile, an auxiliary cord will just go and I can do whatever the hell I need to do on my phone. Hit maps, go. It'll read whatever the hell's going on.
That is a big beef I have.
15 to 30 seconds, you got to wait for the stupid thing to
Bluetooth
connect.
And stuff like that. That is a pain in the butt.
Why are you connecting it over Bluetooth?
Android Auto?
Yeah. Why don't you just plug it in?
Through the USB?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Is it faster?
I don't know. I don't have an Android.
Oh,
I drive a Volkswagen. I have an Apple. Jesus, what is wrong with you?
Keith DeFazio. Golf drivers drink pumpkin spice.
Yeah, I saw
and have iPhones. Is that true?
I don't drink much pumpkin spice. A little here and there.
Don't you lie.
I did get that pumpkin ravioli when we went out the other day.
Pumpkin ravioli is fantastic.
Dude, I never had it before. It was the first.
Really?
I know. I'm thinking about going back there tonight.
It's legit.
I told my wife I had it, and she almost punched me.
And a brown butter sauce? What'd you have?
Yeah.
Brown butter sauce.
Very good.
That's the way to do it.
I was shocked. I was just trying to be a little adventurous. And
that's adventurous for you?
Well, I don't know. I've gone to this restaurant 300 times. There's 9 things on the menu that I like, and they had a special with something else. And I said, okay, fine.
He made it outside of the mac and cheese.
The mac and cheese.
Give the kid a break, okay?
We go to dinner, and of course, I'm like, well, we can't go anywhere nice because it has to have ranch and Mountain Dew on the menu. Otherwise, these two won't eat it.
What are you talking about?
Gordon Ramsay has a show on Nat Geo, the Nat Geo channel, and he makes this trip to Peru. And in Peru, there's a delicacy where you have to hire a guy who will take you out into a mountain. And on the side of the mountain, he's got to find them. On the side of a mountain is this like weed cactus looking thing. And it it grows, like throws a flower and then rots. And he's got to find them in that condition. And what I mean, it's on the side of the mountain. Like, you get to the edge, you look down, and hanging off of the edge of this mountain. And I'm not talking like 7,000 feet. This is like 10,000 feet up in the air. Like, this is way up there, right? And looking down, and you look down, and this thing's just hanging out. And so he then ties a rope, hangs off the side of the mountain to then cut this thing out, and then climb back up. You then cut it open, and inside are these grubs. And that's the delicacy, is the grub. And they cut it open, and the guide is like, "This is it." And these things are like, they look awful.
It's not a palmetto bug?
It's not a palmetto bug. They look like disgusting grubs. And so they cook them up, and the guy just starts popping them. And then the translator's like, "Yeah, these are a great delicacy." And of course, he tries to eat one. It's about pukes. It's like, oh, it tastes like they look. That's disgusting. But it's a delicacy. Like, people pay big money because of what you need to do. The grubs only grow in this type of plant that only grows on this side of this mountain.
I mean, so
I don't know how you find them. Like, you'd have to be really hungry and be like, I'm going to eat that.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, right? It means that people want what people want. Doesn't have anything, right? Like,
it's marketing. It's like lobsters were back in the day were considered disgusting, and it was spin. Or like, what's that? Halibut? Isn't it? No, Chilean sea bass. What's it actually like? Patagonian toothfish? It's a beastly looking. Yeah, look it up what they actually look like. They're beastly looking. They're ugly as hell. We call them a Chilean sea bass. All of a sudden, $75 for the plate.
Well, I mean, that says a lot, right? We're over here worried about charging.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you go into a restaurant in New York and order squab, and you're getting that flying rat that's outside. There's millions of, but they cook it, put a nice sauce on it, and all of a sudden it's $100.
Put it up a certain way so you don't have to, plate it beautifully.
Are you looking at the picture of the Patagonian toothfish?
Yes, that's what it is.
It's a beastly looking thing, yeah. But that's Chilean sea bass.
I could take my phone, look it up, drop it into the media player, hit the media player button, and throw it up on the screen.
Really? Mm-hmm. That is cool. What is he doing?
Well, he could do that, but I can't.
Do you need to come in and out a couple times too? Is there anything else? Communicable.
Oh, wait.
Communicable.
Oh, look.
Communicable?
Man, I'll tell you what.
I'm sure this is what he was expecting. We're going to listen to wood roach stories.
No, Bret knows me well enough to know that this was probably what was coming.
And talking about adventurous, every time I've gotten adventurous, it's got me in trouble next to the porcelain goddess tank. So.
Yes.
Is that what the fear is? It's going to make you sick, or what's the fear?
Oh no, I like being adventurous. I just don't like the after effects of my beer when I'm adventurous.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about getting hammered. Like he doesn't. Like, he wouldn't eat the clams. The clams were fantastic, by the way. Shout out to, I don't even know the name of the restaurant, but that restaurant was phenomenal.
One last night?
Yeah.
Dude, that was really good. Have you ever eaten there? Water's Edge?
Mm-mm. Oh, what's the restaurant?
Wasn't that good, Scott?
That was very good.
Thank you for dinner, by the way. That was delicious. I mean, it really was. Like, if you get a chance, you should ride over there and have dinner.
Okay.
What are we supposed to do?
Water's Edge restaurant. The
That's
Water's
close
Edge
by.
restaurant at Memory Town.
I mean, it's like, if I'm driving, it's about 5.5 minutes away.
Normal driving, it's 10 to 15. Because it's in the sticks.
The
But
yellow line doesn't matter? Yeah. That was it.
yeah, like the turn was, he's like, that can't be the turn. That's not even a road. And we blew past it. But it was the turn.
You know what's really interesting? Is these guys, let me tell you something about these guys. They point out those little yellow signs that have curves on them. And they're like, that says 35. What's your point? I mean, like, there's signs all over the road that say things. I mean, I don't read them all.
That's a challenge.
I was holding on for dear life.
I am not that bad. I mean, listen, we don't follow those signs in my town. That's for the people from Florida.
Lucas, do you drive the two thumb up theory?
No, I'm one-handing it with a palm, right?
Yeah, he kind of sits like
Laid
this.
back.
Yeah.
Steering on there and then just pedal to the floor.
Got the old bass going boom,
Yes, exactly.
No, his music choice is very eclectic. So it's like, it's Ethiopian jazz. And he's flying down the road. No, I'm not kidding. It is. It's
Relaxing, it's chilling.
Your driving isn't.
Yeah, it is. I love that.
So I was telling you Dead Man's Curve because there was a turn going from Melrose into Saugus called Dead Man's Curve. And it was when it said 35, like you had to slow down because if you didn't, you would slide into a cliff, like the side of
we call that greasy corner in my town.
Greasy corner?
Yeah.
Where you slide it and die?
You don't die. You just try and slide. And listen, the key to sliding is if you're sliding, you need to be turned sideways, right? You gotta get the slide in the right direction.
That's called drifting.
Yeah, exactly. You got to just make sure that the back comes around with you.
Yeah.
And the key,
You're in a Highlander.
the key is to not let out of the accelerator. Right? Just don't hit the brakes. Everything's fine. That's what these people that end up in the mountains trying to drive, that's where they mess up is they get into a corner at 60 and they slam on the brakes.
I'll ask Mike Allen about driving. He's the only one that knows how to do it properly.
He's right. You got to keep on the accelerator. You got to plan the turn.
Yeah, plan the turn. Let off the accelerator as you're in.
Stand back
gas
in
it on the apex.
That's it. Stand back in it. Now, Mike Allen, I don't care what you say. It's not that he can drive. It's that little booger went over there and paid for a faster go-kart, okay? And it's also
he was swapping go-karts.
He only weighs 75 pounds, bro.
He's not that small. Adam weighs less than Mike Allen.
Dude, he's 2.5 feet tall.
Everybody's 2.5 feet tall to you.
But I do listen. After you mentioned it today, I do admit that when I'm walking fast, it is pretty funny to watch you do that.
My little legs just trying to keep up with you.
Sounds like my wife. Can you walk a little slower? Not really. I can.
I mean, look, I'm barely walking now. And David's over here. He's like huffing and puffing.
This is everywhere you go with Lucas, though. Every time you see Lucas, it's hey, let me go introduce you to somebody. And then I'm assuming that he's left, like there, he had to suddenly go to the bathroom or something. And I'm like, I thought he was going to go introduce me. What I was supposed to do was jog after him to go meet this person. I want to introduce you to this person. Well, where the hell did he go?
Look, you got to keep up, bro. You got to keep
up.
Well,
I've learned this now. I mean, it took a good 2 years to figure it out. But
you did figure it out, so.
Why are you running? Well, it's not to get exercise. It's because Lucas wants to introduce me to somebody. We can't stop now.
Why are you running? The Golf should raise its inside rear tire. Does that happen?
Yeah, it has something. I don't know. Buttons. It's got all kinds of buttons. Does whatever you want it to do.
Listen. Now, Bret, don't take this the wrong way. David, you can definitely take this the wrong way. Scott, I don't care if you take this the wrong way or not.
Scott's not paying attention. He's going to slam that phone down right onto the table here in a second.
The one thing that I take away from all of this is the guy who just said that is the most successful shop owner in the room.
What? That he bought all the buttons?
No, the guy that just said it's got that thing that does that thing and it does things.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
I don't know what it is. Look, I wanted a manual transmission, all-wheel drive car that was really fast.
Hey, I don't know if you know this.
You didn't want to look like a Subaru driver? You could have gotten a Subaru.
I always
he does kind of look like a Subaru. Outback?
Volkswagens? Really?
I don't know.
He was just trying to impress
my
Tom.
job used to pay for a car. Like, I could get a new car every year and a half if I wanted to. And we got very friendly with someone at the Volkswagen dealer, and he'd give us the hookup every time I go in. He'd be like, "What do you want now?" I'm like, I don't know, something with a manual transmission, kind of fast, keep it around $35,000. I mean, I got this GTI, I got a GLI.
Yeah.
So I just got a message that said, and
this is stupid. Cut off the podcast.
No, it actually is something really interesting. That shop type that you were talking about, some folks pointed out that shop type pushes out owners that act and do that.
I'm sure they do if they get caught.
Right.
But not in my area.
Well, somebody ought to tell them then.
I'm not going to rat anybody out.
I'm not saying you should rat them out. You just did. I mean, there's...
No, whatever. I kept it tastefully vague.
Okay.
Kind of like the
everybody
palmetto
listening.
bug.
Yeah.
I called it a palmetto bug.
Everybody knows where he lives. It implies good and that they're religious like Christians.
Then they could be Muslim too. I don't know.
So, interestingly enough, and we're going to go completely different direction.
My nose is running. I don't know why. I think Amanda gave me her COVID.
No, it's probably Scott. You were. Don't you knock my camera over? You were necking with Scott last night. I think that's probably where it came from.
Ooh, I have standards.
Out of all the nasty things you could have said, you called it necking.
I'd rather neck with palmetto bugs.
I think just about anybody would. Christy's a tough woman. I know she's thinking she's going to get something out of this eventually. I just don't know what.
She got 2 kids out of it. What?
Oh, that's a good point.
2 cutest kids in the whole wide world.
Why
Cuter than yours.
Why she's not murdered?
I'm a little
yet, I don't
biased.
know.
You have cute kids.
Domingo,
Mine are just cuter.
I think that's how he says his name, raises a question. Now I've got to ask, right?
Who?
He's not on there. He's one of my friends from North Carolina.
He's sending you like private text messages?
No. He posted this on Facebook a while back.
Okay.
And he brought up the fact that there is a difference between a stick shift and a manual, right? And he brings this up. Hang on. We're going to go back and we're going to find exactly what he said because it's worth
Pausing the whole podcast to look it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're in a different state. We're up north, so I have to ask if I can find it here.
A stick shift in the manual.
He posts so much. Yeah, he says, I want to know because I've been living in North Carolina for 10 years now, and I'm still puzzled by the term straight drive being used to describe a manual transmission.
A straight drive? Is that a thing?
That's what we call them in North Carolina. Does anybody else call them a straight drive?
No,
Never heard
that's
this.
weird.
Okay.
A straight drive?
I mean, it never seemed odd to me, right? It never even remotely seemed odd to me.
Oh, yeah, Domingo. Sure.
We call
He
them
was at
straight
ASD.
drives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we just
straight
said stick shift.
describe. Yeah, stick shift or manual.
So that's not
No. That's a North Carolina thing, apparently.
I've heard straight stick.
well.
They were talking about something else.
Because now there's a medication for that.
And it's also, listen, when you have palmetto bugs, Scott.
Palmetto bugs. It's good.
Yeah. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, I know we didn't talk automotive at all.
We did.
Some little.
Yeah.
We kept it. They're all like this, by the way.
That's fine.
I'm
I
just
love
telling you, they're all like this. All of them. Not all. No. 98% of them. There's a few that we kept straight, like legit the whole way through.
Well, so Adam won't be here tomorrow.
Adam will not be here tomorrow. I will not be here tomorrow either.
Yeah. Me and Scott will be here.
Scott Palava. So you
So-
can listen to all the slams and door slams and buzzing
Sniffles.
from. That's me.
No, this dude over here has been sniffling. If I get sick, I'm going to swear to God. So what?
He said he got tested. He got tested, right?
So, Lucas, if you get sick in the hospitality room, I'll hook you guys up.
Okay, good. My concern is not what. Listen, it's what he got tested for. The rest of us need to be worried about.
Were you tested for the 5-panel or the 10-panel? Drug testing.
Yeah. Well, something was missed if he came back clean. Bret, what do you want everybody to know? What's the one thing, if you had a message to shop owners, technicians, service writers alike, what's the one thing and we talk about this sometimes, what was it that changed your life? What gave you a different perspective? What gave you the next foot forward? If you had one piece of advice you could give to an owner or a technician, a service advisor, what would it be?
Training.
Yeah.
For anybody to succeed, you need to search out training like tools, ASTE, Vision.
Yeah.
Go out to Apex, anything local training. That's where you're going to learn.
Yeah.
It don't matter what walk of life. Every day you can learn something new.
That's exactly right.
And even if you go to these trainings, you're never going to take everything you learn back and instigate it all at one time.
Right.
Take a tidbit piece here, go to the next one, take that, implement it,
Right.
and see how it works.
Yeah. Implementation is key.
Yes.
Right. Implementation is key. And I think it's so important.
I think I made that mistake early in my training that I would go to. I'd take everything back. You're all full of energy.
Yeah.
And you just try and start putting things in place right away. And you get burnt out because you're not seeing any change.
Right.
Small implementations, kind of like this tools. This is a small implementation for next year.
Yeah.
Baby steps. Baby steps keep getting bigger. And next thing you know, we're going by leaps.
Exactly.
And I think that's where this industry needs to go. We need to change the perspective of everybody involved.
Right.
Educate the consumer that this is an industry that is worthwhile. We are here to service. We are here to give you the best service you know.
I agree.
And treat everybody as though they are equal.
Exactly. That's really important. Adam, you got closing statements? You got same question to you.
I don't know, you know what? There's been so many things, and it's I think a lot of the information I get, it's always it's timely information, so it's what I needed at the time, and I can't say that there's one thing that's been the most crucial thing, but I think just kind of echoing what Bret's saying is, invest in your people for training, invest in them for whatever it is, you invest in them personally, take an interest in them, and build a culture in your shop that is the culture that you want to work in. And that's one of the biggest reasons I left what I was doing. I thought, hey, I can do automotive repair better than anybody else can do it, even though I don't know anything about cars.
Right.
But B, I hated going to work every day. And I said, I want to go to work and enjoy it and be around people and there's been times where I've gone into my shop and there's been people there that I didn't enjoy. And it actually took David going, discussing that with me and me going, yeah, this is why I hate my shop. I got to get rid of this guy. And getting those people in. And I have a phenomenal group of people now that work for me. And it's, it's making that investment in them and letting them take that.
You're in the same boat too.
Yeah.
With your tech.
Yeah. And it made my life miserable.
Yeah. I think I remember you talking about that.
And so, that's what I was getting ready to close with and say is that, nobody, if you're a shop owner and you're going to work and you're miserable right now, there's a better way. I promise. Right? I'll look right in the camera and say, I promise to you, if you're a shop owner, you're struggling, it's hard, things aren't going the way you expect them to go. A, you're not alone. And B, there's tons of resources. There's tons of help out here. AASP here in Pennsylvania, ASTA in North Carolina, what used to be IGO&C in WACA, in the Midwest. I mean, there's associations everywhere. No, you're not alone, right? You're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone, and it doesn't have to be this way. At some point, we get to this point in our lives where the struggle becomes a choice, right? And we don't realize it. We think life's bad because it's just bad. Eventually it becomes a choice, right? And you've got to take that leap of faith.
And then one other thing that these events and associations, just going to a meeting, just doing this, networking.
Yeah.
Oh, the networking.
Getting on the Facebook pages.
Yeah.
My shop wouldn't be anywhere near if it wouldn't have been for my dad getting involved in this association. The networking alone has paid its dividends.
Amen.
And this industry needs that because I don't know everything.
That's it.
And what I don't know, you might know something I don't. I could reach out to you and say, hey, I'm having this problem. We did this, try that. That's key.
Yeah. It really is. It really is. And I think in our industry, for so many years, everybody's looked at each other as competition.
Right.
Boys and girls, the competition we have now is not with each other.
No.
The competition's with technology. The competition's with a labor shortage. The competition's with our reputation as a whole, right? That's where our competition is. It's not with the guy down the street. We got to get over it, right? If you want to grow up, I mean, I remember my daddy telling me one time, he said, son, when you get over all this dumb stuff, right? What do you mean by that? When you get over all the little silly stuff, that's when life happens. That's when growth happens. When you put all this dumb stuff behind you, competition's dumb stuff, man. It's for the birds. It's time to move forward.
Yep.
So let me throw this out there, and I know we're trying to wrap up, but so we had talked about it. I'm moving my shop here at the end of the year. I'm moving into a much better part of town from where I am now.
Yeah.
I'd ordered a banner and hang up on the shop. Hey, coming 2022, Allied Automotive, here, whatever. I go to pick up the banner and I'm walking into the sign shop and here's a guy walking in with all these signs. He must have taken them off his building. He's getting them refinished. So I grab the door. I hold it for him. I'm like, man, I know that guy.
Right.
Who is this guy? Look, he turns around. He's got Binder's Automotive, which is literally the shop that is a 1/10 of a mile down the road from where I'm moving. And I went, oh, this is going to be awkward. Like, clearly, if he doesn't know that I'm moving in there, now he's going to. Like, what are you doing? Well, picking up my banner for the shop I just bought, right around the corner. And so I introduced myself, and he said, oh, yeah, I know who you are. I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, I heard you bought the old Gaiman's Garage. I said, yeah. He goes, I just want to let you know we're super excited to have a high caliber shop that is moving in there that's not going to try and undercut us and is doing the same thing that we're doing because we need more of you in the area.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, that is the coolest thing.
Yep.
Blew my mind. Like I left there, I'm calling everybody. I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this.
Exactly.
But what a great feeling.
It really is. And that's what we need, right? That's what we need to be doing. Right? Because we've got so many challenges. We can't have the infighting anymore. We've got to get over these stupid little things and move forward. We got to stop with the dumb crap. And we've got to move forward because our industry, boys, yeah, it's going to be around. It's not going anywhere. I'm not saying it's going anywhere.
It's just going to change.
It's going to change. And there's struggles and there's things coming down the road that a lot of people don't even, and how many shop owners do we know? I mean, I'm just waiting for somebody to come buy the place. I'm ready to be done. I don't want to do this anymore. Great. I hate to say it, but let's find some shop owners who are ready to take our industry forward and move it to the next level.
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
That's it.
And if I am, the new guy I just hired I'm going to groom.
That's awesome. So just so everybody listening can hear, tell us about that. Tell us the game plan because that's something we've been talking a lot about lately.
So the business was my brother and I's. It's mine now. He has a retirement in a couple of years. That's his plan.
Right.
So we just hired this new tech he came to us from another shop. He was not happy. Interviewed him, talked to him. He has an aspiration of owning his own business. So there's my ticket for when I'm ready to retire. So I'm going to groom him into the business. He's very energetic, wants to knowledge.
Yep.
He wants to grow. And I think that was one of the pieces that brought him to us, why he said yes, because he had that opportunity to grow.
Yep.
And I'm going to help him with it.
Amen, dude. That's awesome. Kudos to you for that. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it very much for having us.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the ASOG podcast. If you'd like to catch these episodes early, you can do so by becoming a patron. Just go to asog.site and click on the Become a Patron Now button. Becoming a patron helps support the show, gets you several perks, and is tax deductible. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and on YouTube so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, shoot me an email. My email address is david@asog.site. That's david@asog.site. Until next time.